Okay. Hi, I'm back. So, I know we went through all of those videos and things, and before I kind of keep going, I know everybody's like, okay, wait a minute, Mona, but what have you done? Like, it's not like everything bad happening to you and you're like perfect angel. That's never the case. If anybody says that, it's a joke. It is such a joke. And yes, I've done awful things. A lot of awful things. Some things I will share, other things I won't, just because of the sensitivity and the other people involved. And I've talked to some of those people, and they wish that I don't talk about those things. So that's okay. Now, going back to like as my childhood, I was sneakier than sneak. Like I would lie a lot, make up stories, and I was very like curious about a lot of things, like and how things worked, how things, why things worked the way they did, and how far am I able to push authority and things like that. My mom wasn't the easiest, as we all know, and I had to lie a lot in order for me to get experiences in the world, if that makes sense. So there were things I wanted to do. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to make friends, and I wanted to know what was outside of just what I lived in and where I was from, because I knew other kids had other lives, and I'm not saying they had better lives. It's just I knew everybody was different from a young age, and I really wanted to know more and more about how they lived the way they lived and how they felt and all of these things. Just people were a big thing for me because I was just so curious into their lives. Not that I wanted a life like that, but I just wanted to know how other people lived because I knew there was a different way than what I lived, and not necessarily meant it was better. Majority of the time, yes, it was like it was a better environment financially, but when it came to like a disciplinary system or it came to their ethics and religions and the way they have a routine was totally different from what I grew up, and I really wanted to know what those things were like. So from a young age, I was very curious, and in order for me to gain that knowledge, I really had to lie. I had to lie a lot. And yes, it wasn't the best thing for me to do, but I knew I couldn't be open, and I really, honestly, at that time, I didn't really understand why. As I got older, I understood, like, oh shit, okay, I want to know what else is out there, what is life, and besides the life that I have, because I know other children and other my peers, lived a different life. So, yes, I did all those awful things, and I feel bad for them. However, I know that if I hadn't done those things, I wouldn't know the things that I know today, and I wouldn't have went through the experiences that I went through to make me who I am today. So, yes, I chose wrong people to associate with, and because I knew that even though they were the wrong associations for me, I was still a part of them because I knew that I was going to be able to get not necessarily further, but I was going to be like part of like the cool crowd. And now looking back, like the cool crowd is not always the best crowd. So, because there's always like some hidden agendas, there's like some hidden like things that, people talk about, people do, and opposed to what other people don't. So, yeah, there are some things I wasn't proud about. And, having all the bullies and things, like, I feel like those are the reasons why I had bullies. Was it not necessarily because of things that I was talking crap or like spreading things, but I was very curious about a lot of people and about the way they were and why they were that way and like what made them feel superior. Like there was always, there's always that one person where it's like, oh, you don't mess with that person because XYZ. I always questioned that. And it wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna like show this person up, and it was just like, but why? Like, why do they feel superior? Like, why do they think that they're better? Or why do they think that they could fight everybody? Like, what is going on? Just things like that. And there were times where I think that kind of came off as the wrong way. And so then other people would go back, well, oh, she was like talking about, she was like, I was just wanting to know, like, why people thought those things of that person. And sometimes I would be like, well, that doesn't really make sense, but I guess, okay, whatever. So that came off the wrong way in a lot of things. And I learned that as a young person that's probably the wrong thing to do, because young people don't like to be questioned and they don't like to be like tested. And even though we like to test authority, and adults as children and as young teenagers and young adults, we don't want to be tested because we're like, okay, bring it on, bitch. Like those kinds of things. And so, yeah, and then there would be times where, like, okay, I have to defend myself. So then, okay, I have to put up like this charade that I'm like this badass, which I never really thought I was. Those were just unfortunate things that I wish I didn't have to do, but I did them because I had to freaking protect myself because nobody else was. So that is essentially how that worked out. And so, yes, I can understand how people like misinterpreted that for like me like talking shit or whatever, and causing these bullies and things. That's not to mention like the boys. Okay, so like the boys in school were a little bit interested. I'm not gonna lie, I was a freaking hoe bag, and I mean, I was curious about those things too. Any freaking teenager was. And it wasn't like I was just like this horrible teenager that was just, trying to hoe around and things. That's not the case. Every person goes through those curiosities. Rather you live them and you do them or you don't. Those things are still in the brain. It doesn't matter. And as time has gone on and me having children and watching them growing up as teenagers, I know that those things actually are more progressive now than what they were whenever I was younger, because it's so like much more talked about than whenever I was younger, because all these other things. Anyways, besides the point is that yes, boys became a huge factor in why I got bullied, because the boys were just so, hi, how are you doing, keeping it PG. So anyways, it was just like, okay, cool, whatever. Let's see what happens, Yeah, it's fucking nice to have all these guys like you and things. As you're younger. As you get older, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have allowed so many people to like me, because I know people get a bad kind of sense of what my reputation is, and that even though that wasn't necessarily what my reputation was, it was what was created in other people's realities. And it's so funny that that's happened that way, because that is not necessarily the way I've been. I mean, yeah, a lot of people like me, but I think it's more of just they like to create a reality that's not really me. That's like for them, it's a projection for them, but it's not really who I am. So then that, rubbed girls the wrong way. Go figure. So then that was another thing on top of that. And I'm not saying I was like a pretty girl growing up. Like I was not. To this day, I don't think I'm like the most attractive looking person. I'm not saying I'm the ugly person. I'm just not saying I'm like extremely attractive. However, I think it was just the way that I communicated with boys and men these days. I was like, yes, they all want to be respected. They all want to be noticed. And the same thing with women. Like women want to be respected. They want to be acknowledged, not by them being a woman, but they want to be acknowledged by what they've created and what they've overcome and who they are. And I think that's where a lot of people have misinterpreted me from a young age, is I've always understood people. I've never like, ew, you're gross. Like, don't even talk to me. Like, no. It was always, even like the person that was getting bullied on the bus, I saw them and I would be like, dude, don't be that way. Like, don't beat this kid up with your boot. Like don't talk crap about this kid's acne, because you never know what you're going to go through in 2 or 5 years from now. Because I didn't start getting acne until I was like 21. But anyways, I always saw those people. I saw the weird kid on the bus who, was the atheist. I saw the punk kid. I saw the kid that was the nerd and the poor kid. And I always made sure I had, like, not a relationship, but like a crossing. Like, hey, how are you? Those kinds of things. So that was essentially like me growing up. And I felt like I've always had so many personalities inside myself that I can adapt to pretty much any situation and adapt to any person. Even if I didn't necessarily want to, it just came out naturally and it was annoying. And if I had to be catty, bitch was catty. And that's all it was. And I matched people's energy. That's what the problem was. It's so crazy. I just had that idea. Like, I've never really thought about it that way, and now I see it. I matched people's energy, and they did not like it. That was my problem. Yes. Anyways, so yes, I was a freaking slutty, catty, annoying, also caring young person. I still am, honestly. And still a lot of people don't take to that. But things got easier as I've gotten to be an adult because I know when to remove myself as opposed to sticking around and creating chaos like I used to. So before we go on, I just wanted to make sure that I sit here and I let you guys know I am not an innocent person. All of the things that have happened to me are not because I was innocent, not because I didn't stand up for myself. There were times I didn't, but as time went on, I learned how to. So I don't want anybody to ever think that I am here bashing other people in my life and the things that they have done to me because for some reason I'm portraying I'm innocent. I'm not. I'm not innocent. And I will just start to discuss a little bit more whenever I'm talking about certain situations and the things that probably have created those types of things and emotions and all of that thing. So that is all I wanted to say for now. And I'm going to start creating a little bit more, probably slowly, but I just really hope everybody realizes Mona is not innocent. Mona is a crazy psycho bitch, but also a loving psycho bitch. And yes, that is me. Okay, bye.